How to Save Time and Double Your Output. Written and published by Mindset Masters Audiobook. Chapter 1. The Time Illusion. Why being busy is not the same as being productive. Most people believe they have a time problem. In reality, they have a clarity problem. They wake up early, stay busy all day, and go to bed exhausted, yet meaningful progress remains frustratingly slow. This creates the illusion that time is the enemy, when in truth, misdirected effort is the real constraint. Being busy feels productive, but it often masks inefficiency. Movement creates emotional relief. Activity creates the feeling of accomplishment. But output, the kind that changes results, comes from focused leverage, not constant motion. The first step to saving time and doubling output is dismantling the belief that more hours automatically equal more result. Time is neutral. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. What differs is how decisions are made within those hours. People who struggle with productivity often attempt to manage time itself, scheduling more tightly, waking earlier, working later. High performers manage attention, energy, and priorities, not minutes. One of the most damaging myths is that productivity means doing more. In reality, productivity means producing more value with less effort. Output is not measured by how tired you are, how long you worked, or how full your to-do list feels. Output is measured by results that move goals forward. The time illusion convinces people that their days are full because they are important. In truth, many tasks are simply loud, urgent, and habitual. They demand attention without delivering progress. The wealthy, high achievers, and elite performers learn early to distinguish between activity that consumes time and actions that multiply result. Another trap is reactive living. Most people structure their day around incoming demands, messages, notifications, requests, interruptions. This trains the brain to respond instead of create. Reaction feels necessary, but it fragments focus and drains energy. Over time, reactive behavior creates the sense that time is constantly slipping away. High-output individuals reverse this relationship. They design their day before the world reacts to them. Instead of asking, "What needs my attention?" they ask, "What produces the greatest impact today?" This single question changes how time is experienced. The illusion deepens when people confuse urgency with importance. Urgent tasks shout. Important tasks whisper. Urgent tasks create stress relief when completed. Important tasks create long-term result. Most people spend their days extinguishing small fires while neglecting the systems that prevent fires entirely. Saving time does not begin with speed. It begins with elimination. Every high-output person understands that subtraction comes before optimization. You cannot double output by refining low-value work. You double output by removing it. Another misunderstanding is the belief that discipline alone fixes productivity. Discipline helps, but discipline applied to the wrong priorities only accelerates burnout. Without clarity, discipline becomes punishment. With clarity, discipline becomes momentum. Energy management is another overlooked factor. Time does not produce output, energy does. 2 hours of focused, energized work often outperform 10 hours of distracted effort. People who feel they lack time are often operating with depleted mental energy due to poor recovery, overstimulation, and constant decision-making. Decision fatigue silently steals output. Every unnecessary choice consumes mental resources. What to wear, what to eat, when to respond, what to work on next. These decisions drain cognitive energy. High performers reduce decision load by building routines, rules, and systems that preserve focus for high-impact work. Perfectionism also feeds the time illusion. Many people over-polish low-value tasks to avoid discomfort. They delay completion under the disguise of quality. In reality, perfectionism often hides fear of judgment, visibility, or failure. High output requires completion over perfection. Another major cause of time loss is context switching. Every time attention shifts, cognitive efficiency drops. Multitasking feels efficient but destroys depth. The brain performs best when immersed in a single objective. Doubling output often means doing fewer things more deeply. The illusion of time scarcity is reinforced by comparison. Watching others appear productive creates pressure to do more rather than do better. High performers measure progress against goals, not against other people's visible effort. Saving time is not about squeezing life tighter. It is about aligning effort with outcomes. When effort is aligned, time expands subjectively. Days feel purposeful instead of rushed. Work feels intentional instead of overwhelming. This chapter establishes a foundational truth. You do not need more time. You need fewer wrong priorities. Once this illusion is broken, productivity shifts from force to strategy. From chaos to clarity. From exhaustion to execution. Chapter 2. The 20% that changes everything. How leverage replaces effort. Most people spend their lives trying to get better at everything. High performers do the opposite. They focus obsessively on the small fraction of actions that create the majority of result. This principle alone explains why some people seem to accomplish more in a year than others do in a decade. The idea is simple, but its implications are radical. A minority of your actions create the majority of your output. The problem is not that people work too little. The problem is that they work on too much that does not matter. The 20% principle, often misunderstood as a productivity trick, is actually a way of thinking. It forces you to confront an uncomfortable truth. Most of what fills your day contributes very little to your real goals. Once you accept this, saving time becomes natural, not forced. People resist this principle because it threatens identity. Many tasks feel important because they are familiar. They create the comfort of busyness. Letting go of them feels like irresponsibility. In reality, it is the beginning of strategic maturity. High output begins with result clarity. If you cannot clearly define what output means in your life or work, everything feels equally important. When everything is important, nothing is prioritized. The wealthy and highly productive define success narrowly. They know exactly which outcomes matter most. Once outcomes are defined, the next step is identifying which actions directly move those outcomes forward. This is where most people fail. They confuse support work with impact work. Emails, meetings, planning, organizing, and optimizing feel productive, but often exist to support real work, not replace it. The 20% actions are usually uncomfortable. They require focus, visibility, risk, or decision-making. They cannot be done passively. This is why people avoid them and instead gravitate toward low-impact tasks that provide instant relief. Another reason people struggle with leverage is emotional attachment to effort. Many believe that hard work must feel hard to be valuable. They equate struggle with virtue. The wealthy understand that efficiency is not laziness. It is intelligence applied to effort. Leverage replaces repetition with systems. Instead of doing the same task repeatedly, high performers design processes that produce results automatically or with minimal input. This might involve templates, automation, delegation, or skill building. Each system saves time repeatedly, not just once. The key question shifts from "what should I do next?" to "what should I stop doing?" Elimination is uncomfortable because it creates empty space. That space feels like wasted time to those conditioned by busyness. In reality, it is where high-impact work finally fit. Another major breakthrough comes from recognizing that not all hours are equal. Energy fluctuates throughout the day. High performers match their most important work to their highest energy period. Low-value tasks are pushed to low-energy windows or removed entirely. This alone can double output without adding a single hour. When focus and energy align with importance, work quality improves and completion accelerate. Leverage also applies to learning. Many people consume information endlessly without applying it. High performers extract principles, test them quickly, and discard what does not work. Learning becomes a tool, not a distraction. Another powerful leverage point is decision compression. Instead of making the same decision repeatedly, the wealthy create rules. Rules remove friction. For example, predefined criteria for opportunities, purchases, or commitments save hours of mental energy over time. The 20% principle also exposes why multitasking fails. Switching between tasks fragments attention and reduces output quality. High performers batch similar tasks together or isolate focus entirely for critical work. This reduces cognitive load and increases speed naturally. Social leverage matters as well. Who you collaborate with dramatically affects output. One aligned partnership can outperform dozens of solo efforts. The wealthy invest time in relationships that multiply results rather than drain energy. Importantly, leverage is not about doing nothing. It is about doing fewer things that matter more. Early stages may feel slower because you are removing familiar tasks. But once leverage is applied, results accelerate beyond effort. Many people quit during this transition phase. They feel unproductive because activity decreases before output increases. High performers tolerate this temporary discomfort because they understand the curve. The greatest time savings come from preventing problems instead of fixing them. Clear communication prevents confusion. Planning prevents rework. Boundaries prevent interruptions. Prevention is invisible, which is why it is undervalued, but it is one of the most powerful forms of leverage. Leverage also requires honesty. You must be willing to admit which actions are ineffective, even if you enjoy them. Growth demands detachment from habits that no longer serve result. As this chapter closes, understand this clearly. You cannot double output by trying harder at everything. You double output by focusing intensely on the few actions that actually move the needle. Chapter 3. Focus is the new currency. How distraction steals your best work. In a world that never stops demanding attention, focus has become one of the rarest and most valuable assets. Time is not what limits output. Attention is. The ability to concentrate deeply on meaningful work now separates high performers from everyone else more than talent, intelligence, or effort. Distraction does not just waste minutes, it fragments thinking. Every interruption resets momentum, forcing the brain to reload context, intention, and direction. What feels like a quick glance or a short response often costs far more than it appears. The true cost of distraction is not the interruption itself, but the recovery time that follows. Most people underestimate how deeply distraction affects output. They believe they are multitasking effectively, when in reality they are context-switching rapidly. The brain is not designed to handle multiple high-level tasks simultaneously. Toggles, it does not combine. Each toggle reduces efficiency, accuracy, and creativity. High-output individuals treat focus as a protected resource. They do not assume it will be available by default. They design conditions that allow it to exist. This is not about willpower. It is about structure. One of the first truths to accept is that modern environments are hostile to focus by design. Notifications, alerts, feeds, and messages are engineered to capture attention. Expecting to remain focused without boundaries in such an environment is unrealistic. Productivity begins when you stop blaming yourself and start controlling input. Another misunderstood concept is motivation. Many people wait to feel motivated before focusing. High performers reverse this relationship. They focus first, and motivation follows. Focus creates progress. Progress creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation. Deep focus is uncomfortable at first. It removes stimulation and forces the mind to confront difficulty. This discomfort causes many people to unconsciously seek distraction. They check messages, adjust settings, or switch tasks, not because it is necessary, but because discomfort triggers avoidance. The wealthy and highly productive learn to sit inside this discomfort. They recognize it as a sign that they are doing meaningful work. Over time, tolerance increases, and deep focus becomes easier and more natural. Another reason distraction persists is emotional. Many interruptions feel socially or professionally required. People fear missing out, appearing unresponsive, or falling behind. High performers challenge this fear by defining response windows instead of constant availability. Availability is not productivity. Constant responsiveness signals busyness, not value. Output comes from periods of intentional isolation where meaningful work can occur uninterrupted. One powerful strategy is time blocking. Instead of letting tasks compete for attention, high performers assign specific windows to specific types of work. This reduces decision fatigue and creates psychological permission to ignore unrelated inputs temporarily. Equally important is defining focus rituals. Rituals signal the brain that it is time to concentrate. This might involve a specific location, music, posture, or routine. Over time, the brain associates the ritual with deep work, reducing resistance. Another critical factor is mental clutter. Open loops, unfinished tasks, unresolved decisions, unclear priorities consume cognitive resources even when you are not actively thinking about them. Writing things down, clarifying next actions, and closing loops frees mental bandwidth for focus. The myth of inspiration also feeds distraction. Many people wait for the perfect mood to work deeply. High performers work consistently regardless of mood. Inspiration often arrives after engagement, not before. Technology itself is not the enemy. Unconscious use is. High performers deliberately choose when and how technology enters their workflow. They disable non-essential notifications, batch communication, and separate consumption from creation. Creation requires silence. Consumption thrives on noise. Mixing the two reduces both quality and speed. This is why many high performers create first and consume later, rather than starting their day reacting to information. Another overlooked element is environmental friction. Small obstacles can either block distraction or encourage it. Placing the phone out of reach, closing unnecessary tabs, or using full-screen modes significantly improves focus with minimal effort. Sleep and recovery also affect attention. A tired brain seeks stimulation to stay alert, increasing susceptibility to distraction. High output is unsustainable without recovery. Rest is not a reward, it is a requirement. Focus also improves decision quality. When attention is scattered, decisions become reactive. When attention is concentrated, decisions align with long-term goals. This reduces rework, second-guessing, and regret. One of the most valuable habits high performers develop is single-tasking under constraint. Limiting time intentionally forces prioritization and prevents perfectionism. Constraints sharpen focus by removing options. The compounding effect of focus is enormous. 1 hour of deep work daily can outperform 5 hours of shallow work. Over weeks and months, this difference becomes transformative. Focus also strengthens identity. Each focused session reinforces the belief that you are capable of meaningful output. This builds confidence and reduces avoidance. Productivity becomes part of who you are, not something you struggle to force. As this chapter closes, understand this principle clearly. Distraction does not steal time. It steals depth, and without depth, output collapses. Chapter 4. Fewer decisions, faster results. How systems free your mind. Most people believe productivity is about doing more things faster. In reality, productivity collapses under the weight of too many decisions. Every choice, no matter how small, consumes mental energy. Over time, this invisible drain becomes one of the greatest thieves of time and output. Decision fatigue does not announce itself loudly. It appears subtly as procrastination, irritation, distraction, or poor judgment. When mental energy is depleted, even simple tasks feel heavy. This is why people often avoid important work late in the day and default to easy, low-value activities. High performers understand a truth that most people never learn. The goal is not to make better decisions all day, but to make fewer decisions overall. Systems exist to remove choice. And when choice disappears, execution accelerates. A system is simply a pre-made decision. It is a rule, structure, or process that determines what happens without requiring fresh thinking each time. Systems conserve mental energy so it can be spent on creative, strategic, or high-impact work. Consider how much time is lost deciding what to work on next. Many people sit down with good intentions but no clear plan. They scan messages, review lists, rearrange priorities, and hesitate. By the time they choose, focus has already eroded. High-output individuals eliminate this friction by deciding in advance. The wealthy and highly productive do not wake up asking, "What should I do today?" They already know. Their systems tell them. This is not rigidity, it is liberation. Structure creates freedom by removing uncertainty. One of the most powerful systems is priority filtering. Instead of evaluating every opportunity or request individually, high performers define criteria. If something does not meet the criteria, it is automatically declined. This prevents energy loss and emotional indecision. Another critical system is task categorization. Not all tasks deserve the same attention. High performers classify work into categories such as deep work, shallow work, administrative tasks, and recovery. Each category has its own time and rules. This prevents important work from being crowded out by urgent noise. Routines are another underestimated system. Repeating the same actions in the same order reduces cognitive load. Morning routines, work startup routines, and shutdown routines create momentum and clarity. When the brain knows what comes next, resistance decreases. Many people resist routines because they fear boredom or loss of flexibility. In reality, routines free creativity by removing unnecessary choice. The wealthy understand that creativity thrives within structure, not chaos. Another major time drain is redeciding problems that have already been solved. For example, responding differently to the same type of request every time, or constantly adjusting standards and expectations. Systems solve once and apply repeatedly. Automation is a form of system building. Whether digital or manual, automation removes repetition. This could be as simple as templates, checklists, or predefined responses. Each automation saves minutes that compound into hours over time. Checklists are particularly powerful because they reduce errors and speed execution. Pilots, surgeons, and engineers rely on them not because they lack intelligence, but because they respect the limits of attention. High performers apply the same logic to work and life. Another form of system is decision batching. Instead of making decisions continuously throughout the day, decisions are grouped into specific windows. This reduces mental switching and preserves focus for execution. For example, responding to messages at set times instead of constantly. Planning once per week instead of daily. Reviewing finances monthly instead of reacting continuously. Each batch reduces mental noise. Systems also protect against emotional decision-making. When rules exist, emotions have less influence. This is especially important during stress, fatigue, or pressure. Systems act as guardrails that keep behavior aligned with long-term goals. The poor often rely on motivation and willpower. The wealthy rely on systems. Motivation fluctuates. Willpower depletes. Systems endure. They work even when energy is low. Another crucial system is environment design. The environment either supports focus or undermines it. High performers arrange their physical and digital spaces to reduce friction for desired behaviors and increase friction for distractions. For example, tools needed for deep work are easily accessible. Distractions are hidden or removed. This reduces the number of decisions required to start meaningful work. Systems also apply to personal energy. Sleep schedules, exercise routines, and recovery habits remove the need to decide whether to take care of yourself. Care becomes automatic instead of optional. One of the most important mindset shifts is understanding that structure is not restriction. Structure is strategy. It allows you to operate at a higher level with less effort. People trapped in low output often confuse freedom with randomness. They want to decide everything in the moment. This creates constant friction. High performers choose constraints deliberately so energy can be focused where it matters most. Systems should evolve. They are not rigid rules carved in stone. They are living structures that adapt as goals change. The wealthy review systems regularly and refine them to increase efficiency. Another powerful system is default actions. When uncertain, the system determines the response. For example, defaulting to saving rather than spending, creating rather than consuming, planning rather than reacting. Defaults shape outcomes quietly and consistently. As systems accumulate, output increases without additional effort. Work feels lighter. Decisions feel clearer. Time expands subjectively. This is not magic, it is design. The greatest benefit of systems is mental clarity. When the mind is not overloaded with trivial choices, it can think strategically. This leads to better decisions, higher quality work, and faster execution. This chapter reinforces a core truth. You do not rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your systems. Chapter 5. Energy is the multiplier. Why rest, rhythm, and recovery create more results than hustle. Most people believe productivity is a matter of effort. They push harder, work longer, and sacrifice rest in the hope that more force will produce more output. In reality, effort without energy is inefficient. Energy, not time, is the true multiplier of output. When energy is high, work flows. When energy is depleted, even simple tasks feel heavy. The productivity world often glorifies exhaustion. Being tired is treated as evidence of commitment. Yet chronic fatigue is not a badge of honor, it is a warning sign. High performers do not win by working themselves into depletion. They win by managing energy deliberately. Energy determines focus, decision quality, creativity, emotional regulation, and speed. When energy drops, mistakes increase. Rework follows. Time is lost correcting errors that never needed to happen. This is why people who work all the time often produce less than those who work strategically. One of the biggest myths is that rest must be earned. In truth, rest is a prerequisite for high output, not a reward for finishing work. The wealthy and highly productive schedule recovery as intentionally as work. They understand that output is cyclical, not linear. Every human operates in rhythms, daily, weekly, and seasonal. Ignoring these rhythms creates friction. Respecting them unlocks efficiency. High performers align demanding work with peak energy periods and protect low energy periods for recovery or low-stakes tasks. Sleep is the foundation of energy, yet it is often the first thing sacrificed. Poor sleep reduces cognitive speed, emotional control, and problem-solving ability. No productivity system can compensate for chronic sleep deprivation. High output requires a rested brain. Nutrition and hydration also shape energy far more than people realize. Energy crashes are often self-inflicted through inconsistent eating, excessive stimulants, or dehydration. High performers treat fueling the body as a strategic decision, not an afterthought. Another overlooked factor is mental recovery. Even if the body rests, the mind often remains overstimulated. Constant information intake prevents cognitive recovery. Silence, stillness, and boredom are not luxuries, they are recovery tools. The wealthy build white space into their days. This is time without input, expectation, or pressure. White space allows the brain to integrate information, solve problems subconsciously, and reset attention. Many breakthroughs occur during rest, not effort. Stress management is also energy management. Chronic stress consumes energy even when you are not actively working. High performers reduce unnecessary stress by clarifying priorities, setting boundaries, and avoiding reactive environment. One of the most powerful energy habits is working in sprints instead of marathons. Short periods of intense focus followed by deliberate rest outperform long periods of forced concentration. This mirrors how elite athletes train. Productivity follows the same biological principles. Breaks are not interruptions, they are performance enhancers. Stepping away at the right time preserves quality and prevents burnout. High performers stop before exhaustion, not after it. Another energy drain is emotional labor. Unresolved conflict, people-pleasing, and constant self-monitoring quietly exhaust mental resources. The wealthy reduce emotional friction by setting clear expectations and aligning work with values. Physical movement plays a crucial role in energy regulation. Long periods of sitting reduce circulation and alertness. Simple movement restores focus faster than caffeine. High performers incorporate movement as a productivity tool, not just a health habit. Environment also affects energy. Lighting, noise, posture, and air quality influence alertness. Small adjustments can produce significant improvements in stamina and concentration. Energy also fluctuates based on meaning. Work that feels aligned produces more sustainable energy than work driven by obligation alone. This is why clarity of purpose increases endurance. The wealthy design work around strengths and values whenever possible. One of the most destructive habits is pushing through fatigue repeatedly. This trains the brain to associate work with pain. Motivation erodes. Procrastination increases. Eventually, even high-value tasks trigger resistance. Recovery prevents this conditioning. Recovery is not passive. It is intentional. High performers recover actively through sleep, movement, reflection, and disengagement. They do not confuse scrolling with rest. True rest restores capacity. Weekly recovery matters as much as daily recovery. Without periodic disengagement, stress accumulates. High performers treat weekends or off days as reset points, not catch-up periods. Energy management also involves knowing when to stop. Ending work while still energized preserves momentum for the next session. This creates a positive feedback loop where work feels easier to return to. Another key principle is energy protection. Not all tasks deserve your best energy. High performers reserve peak energy for peak value work. Everything else is scheduled around it or delegated. When energy is managed well, time expands subjectively. Days feel longer because focus is deeper and effort is aligned. Output increases not through force but through flow. This chapter reveals a fundamental truth. You do not double output by working longer. You double output by working when energy is highest and resting before it collapses. Chapter 6. Eliminate low-value work without guilt. Most people don't lose time because they are lazy. They lose time because they are busy with the wrong things. This chapter is about one of the most uncomfortable but powerful productivity skills you will ever develop, the ability to eliminate low-value work without guilt. Not postpone it, not optimize it, not make it prettier or faster. Eliminate it. High performers are not people who do more. They are people who do less, but only what matters. And that difference changes everything about output, income, energy, and mental clarity. The hidden cost of productive distractions. Low-value work is dangerous because it feels productive. It gives you motion without progress. Answering emails all day. Perfecting formatting. Attending meetings with no decisions. Tweaking details no one will notice. Saying yes to requests that don't move your life forward. These activities drain time in small, invisible amounts. Individually, they seem harmless. Collectively, they destroy momentum. The real cost is not the minutes lost. The real cost is attention fragmentation. Every time you switch to low-value work, your mind breaks focus. Your brain must reload context, reignite motivation, and rebuild intensity. This invisible reset tax quietly cuts your output in half. This is why some people work 12 hours and produce little, while others work 4 focused hours and outperform entire teams. Why you feel guilty eliminating tasks. Guilt is the biggest reason people stay trapped in low-value work. You feel guilty ignoring emails. You feel guilty saying no. You feel guilty not responding immediately. You feel guilty dropping tasks you once agreed to. That guilt does not come from responsibility. It comes from identity confusion. You were taught that being useful means being available, that being kind means saying yes, that being professional means responding fast. But high output requires a different identity. Being effective instead of being agreeable. You are not paid for effort. You are not rewarded for busyness. You are not remembered for responsiveness. You are rewarded for result. Once this truth fully lands, guilt begins to lose its grip. The 80-20 reality of your work. A small number of actions create most of your result. This is not a theory. It is a law of leverage. Roughly, 20% of your tasks produce 80% of your outcomes. The remaining 80% mostly maintain motion, not progress. The mistake most people make is assuming all tasks are equal because they all take time. They are not. One strategic decision can outperform a week of busy work. One focused creation block can outperform dozens of small tasks. Chapter 6 is about learning to identify, isolate, and eliminate the bottom 80% without emotional attachment. Step 1. Identify low-value work honestly. Low-value work has clear signs. Keeps you busy but not fulfilled. It consumes energy without creating momentum. It produces no meaningful long-term impact. It could disappear and your life would not worsen. Someone else could do it, or it doesn't need doing at all. Ask yourself, if this task vanished forever, would my future self thank me? If the answer is no, you are dealing with low-value work. Be brutally honest here. Productivity improves only when self-deception ends. Step 2. Separate importance from urgency. Low-value work often disguises itself as urgent. Notifications, requests, messages, deadlines created by other people's priorities. Urgency screams. Importance whispers. High-value work usually feels quiet, uncomfortable, and easy to postpone. Deep thinking, skill building, creating assets, long-term planning, strategic decisions. If you let urgency dictate your day, your output will always stay shallow. The solution is simple but difficult. Schedule importance before urgency appears. High performers protect their most valuable work like a non-negotiable appointment. Everything else fits around it or gets cut. Step 3. Create a not-to-do list. Most people obsess over to-do lists. High performers obsess over not-to-do lists. Your not-to-do list is a written declaration of what you no longer allow to steal your time. Examples: checking email before deep work, attending meetings without agendas, responding immediately to non-critical messages, perfecting tasks with low upside, saying yes without a pause. This list is not about laziness. It is about intentional restraint. Every item you remove increases focus on what remains. Step 4. Replace guilt with standards. Guilt disappears when standards are clear. Instead of asking, will they be upset if I say no? Ask, does this align with my priorities and goals? Instead of, I should respond quickly. Ask, what response time supports my best work? Standards shift decision-making from emotion to logic. When your standards are defined, you are not rejecting people. You are protecting outcomes. Step 5. Design systems that auto-eliminate waste. Willpower is unreliable. Systems are permanent. Examples of elimination systems: email filters that hide non-essential messages, fixed response windows instead of constant checking, meeting rules, agenda required or no attendance, templates instead of rewriting from scratch. Batch processing repetitive tasks. Every system you build removes friction and decision fatigue. The goal is not to manage low-value work better. The goal is to make it harder for low-value work to exist at all. The emotional shift that doubles output. When low-value work disappears, something surprising happens. You feel lighter. You feel clearer. You feel more confident. Your mind stops feeling scattered. Your energy stops leaking. Your effort starts compounding. This is when output accelerates, not because you work more, but because everything you do finally matters. Doubling output is not about speed. It is about alignment. A new definition of responsibility. Responsibility is not doing everything. Responsibility is doing the right things consistently. If something does not move your goals forward, maintaining it is irresponsible, even if it looks productive. This chapter marks a turning point. From this point forward, your time is no longer open territory. It is a protected asset. Chapter 7. The Daily Architecture, Designing Your Day for Maximum Output. Most people approach their day with a false sense of control. They wake up, open their inbox, check notifications, and react to whatever comes first. By noon, they feel exhausted, yet most of their most important work remains untouched. The day is dictated by other people's priorities, and output is sacrificed to busyness. High performers understand that days do not manage themselves. Time is neutral, but how you structure your day determines what is created, completed, or ignored. Designing your day intentionally is not micromanagement. It is an act of freedom, leverage, and output maximization. Understanding the true structure of a productive day. A productive day is not about squeezing in every task. It is about aligning tasks with energy, priority, and impact. High-output days are layered intentionally. Peak energy windows. These are periods when your focus, creativity, and decision-making are at their strongest. Typically, early mornings or post-recovery blocks for deep work. Buffer zones. Short periods between tasks for reflection, planning, or mental reset. High performers use these intentionally to prevent decision fatigue and context switching. Reactive periods. Times reserved for communication, messages, minor tasks, or meetings. Placed strategically to avoid fragmenting peak energy windows. Recovery blocks. Deliberate pauses, meals, exercise, or quiet reflection. Not optional, these restore attention, creativity, and energy. The difference between those who feel busy and those who achieve results lies in how these layers are prioritized, protected, and sequenced. Start with the end in mind. Designing a day begins not with tasks, but with outcomes. What must happen today to move your goals forward? Without a clear answer, your day will default to shallow, low-value activity. High performers reverse engineer their days from outcomes to actions, ensuring every effort aligns with tangible result. Ask yourself, which 3 tasks produce the highest impact today? Which actions are necessary versus optional? Which energy-intensive activities require peak mental focus? This approach forces intentionality and eliminates reactive chaos. The power of time blocking. Time blocking is more than a scheduling technique, it is a cognitive shield. By assigning explicit time windows to specific activities, you prevent multitasking and context switching. Preserve energy for critical work. Increase speed by creating psychological focus. Reduce stress by defining boundaries. High performers block time not just for work, but for planning, learning, exercise, and recovery. Each block has a purpose, and each purpose aligns with long-term goals. Morning primacy. Claiming the first hours. The first hours of the day are sacred. They set the tone for focus, energy, and momentum. Many studies show that mornings are prime for deep thinking, strategic planning, and high-impact work. High-output individuals often schedule their most important tasks in the first 2 to 3 hours. Emails, meetings, and distractions are deferred. This creates an initial momentum that propels the day. Morning primacy is not about waking earlier arbitrarily. It is about occupying your peak energy hours with work that matters most. Prioritization under pressure. Even with a perfectly designed day, unexpected demands will arise. High performers anticipate interruptions, but they never allow them to dictate flow. Every unplanned task is assessed quickly. Does it align with today's outcomes? Can it be delegated or postponed? Does it consume energy disproportionate to its value? These quick assessments prevent the day from being hijacked by urgent but low-value tasks. Midday reset and energy alignment. Many productivity strategies fail because they ignore energy. A well-structured day aligns tasks with natural fluctuations in focus and stamina. Peak focus periods, deep work, creative problem-solving, critical decision-making. Moderate focus periods, collaboration, meetings, communication. Low energy periods, administrative tasks, routine checks, repetitive work. This alignment ensures that high-value work is not attempted when cognitive resources are depleted, dramatically improving speed and quality. Evening review, reflection and closure. High-output days conclude with deliberate reflection. The evening review involves reviewing what was accomplished, adjusting priorities for tomorrow, closing open loops, celebrating progress to reinforce motivation. Reflection is critical because unreviewed work accumulates mental clutter, increasing stress and decision fatigue. By ending the day intentionally, you start the next day ahead. Rituals and habit anchors. Rituals anchor behavior, reduce decision fatigue, and automate focus. High performers often create morning work rituals, preparing workspace, limiting distractions. Midday energy resets, walks, meditation, short breaks. Evening closure rituals, planning, journaling, winding down. These rituals may appear simple, but they systematically reduce wasted energy, ensure consistency, and make productive behaviors automatic. Guardrails against distraction. Even a designed day is vulnerable to distraction. Guardrails are essential. Digital boundaries, notifications off, scheduled checking. Physical boundaries, workspace organization, dedicated environment. Social boundaries, predefined meeting policies, response rules. Guardrails protect the day you've designed, preventing accidental leaks of attention into low-value activity. Continuous adaptation. Designing your day is not a rigid system. It evolves with priorities, energy patterns, and life changes. High performers review their schedules weekly and adapt based on what produces results and what wastes time. Flexibility is not chaos. Flexibility is intentional adjustment. You learn from patterns, track energy, and refine blocks for maximum efficiency. The compound effect of a design day. When days are designed with intention, the effect compounds. Tasks are completed faster. Energy is preserved. Momentum increases. Creativity thrives. Decision fatigue decreases. Over weeks and months, the difference is enormous. 1 hour of focused, aligned work daily can outperform days of reactive busyness. One intentional day compounds into a week. 1 week into a month. 1 month into a year of transformative output. The lesson is clear. Time alone does not create output. How you architect your day does. Chapter 8. Multiply yourself, delegation, outsourcing, and leveraging others. One of the greatest misunderstandings about productivity is the belief that output is purely individual. High performers understand that their time is finite, but leverage is infinite. The secret to doubling, or even tripling, output lies in multiplying yourself through other people, systems, and resources. This chapter is about the art and science of delegation, outsourcing, and strategic leverage. Learning to let go of control is uncomfortable. Most people fear losing quality, authority, or recognition. High performers embrace delegation as a multiplier, knowing that ownership of results does not require ownership of every task. The cost of trying to do everything. Many people are trapped in the illusion that personal effort is the primary driver of result. They believe, if I want it done right, I must do it myself. No one else can match my standards. "I'll save time if I handle everything personally." In reality, doing everything yourself limits growth, slows progress, and reduces output exponentially. Time spent on low-value tasks is time stolen from high-value creation. The wealthy and highly productive accept a crucial truth. Not all work is worth their time, and the higher the value of your hour, the more imperative it is to delegate non-core tasks. Delegation, the art of letting go. Delegation is not dumping work onto others. It is a strategic choice to focus your energy on where it matters most. Effective delegation involves identifying tasks that can be done by someone else. These are tasks that require effort but not your unique skills or decision-making authority. Examples: routine administrative work, repetitive reporting, formatting, or scheduling. Matching tasks to the right person. High-output individuals align abilities and accountability. Delegation fails when the wrong person is assigned without the right context or capacity. Providing clarity, not micromanagement. Success depends on clear instructions, objectives, and desired outcomes. The goal is ownership, not oversight. Trusting, then checking selectively. Trust is essential. Overseeing every step defeats the purpose. Instead, implement systems for accountability and periodic review. Delegation is not a one-time act, it is a mindset shift. You are not giving up control, you are strategically multiplying your time. Outsourcing, leveraging external expertise. Outsourcing takes the concept further. Instead of relying solely on your team, you tap external experts or services to execute tasks efficiently. Outsourcing is powerful for specialized skills, graphic design, programming, accounting, temporary projects, campaigns, launches, events, repetitive or time-intensive work, data entry, research, administrative tasks. The key is evaluating the true cost of your time versus the cost of outsourcing. If paying someone to do a task frees your hour for high-impact work, the investment pays for itself. High-output individuals think in terms of leverage, not expense. Every task you delegate or outsource is a small investment in expanding your productive capacity. The psychology of delegation. Delegation triggers emotional friction. Many struggle with fear of losing control, concern about quality, fear of being judged, feeling guilty for assigning tasks. High performers reframe these emotions. Quality improves through focus, not multitasking. You are maximizing your impact by prioritizing tasks that require your expertise. Delegation is a skill, not a weakness. Trust becomes a strategic tool. The more you trust capable individuals, the faster results multiply. Micromanagement is a bottleneck. Systems as delegation multipliers. Systems themselves act as a form of delegation. Once established, they execute without constant attention. Examples include automated workflows for email, billing, or project management, standard operating procedures for recurring tasks, templates for communication or reporting. Every system replaces repetitive decision-making and allows focus on strategic work. Delegation and systems together create exponential output. Prioritizing what only you can do. Delegation does not mean doing less. It means doing what only you can do. This includes strategic decision-making, high-value creative work, relationship building with key partners or client, vision setting and planning. Anything outside this circle should be delegated, automated, or eliminated. This ensures your hours are spent creating maximum leverage, not maintaining motion. Communication and feedback. Delegation works only with strong communication. Set expectations, define outcomes, and provide feedback. This closes loops and ensures tasks are aligned with your goals. High performers also create feedback loops to continuously improve delegation quality. The goal is not just completion, but efficient, independent execution. Leveraging technology. Technology amplifies delegation and outsourcing. Tools for project management, communication, automation, and analytics allow individuals to coordinate large teams, track progress, and scale output far beyond what one person could achieve manually. Examples: automated scheduling and reminders, task management platforms, CRM systems for client engagement, analytics dashboards for decision-making. By combining people and technology, you multiply output without increasing hours. The compounding effect of leverage. The true power of delegation and outsourcing is compounding. 1 hour of work delegated today produces more output tomorrow. Systems put in place now continue to save hours indefinitely. High-output individuals invest in leverage early, knowing that small efforts multiply over time. This principle distinguishes high earners and high achievers from the rest. Most people treat time as linear. The wealthy and highly productive treat time as exponential, extended by people, systems, and technology. Mastery of leverage as a mindset. To fully utilize delegation and outsourcing, adopt a leverage-first mindset. Identify all tasks that do not require your unique expertise. Build systems and teams to handle them efficiently. Protect your time for high-value work. Continuously refine processes to increase scale. When leverage becomes instinctive, your output no longer depends on personal effort alone. You begin to operate as a force multiplier, achieving in hours what previously took days or weeks. Closing insight. Doubling output does not come from working twice as hard. It comes from doing what only you can do and multiplying the rest. Delegation, outsourcing, and systems are not optional. They are essential. Chapter 9. Execution speed, turning decisions into result. One of the biggest productivity traps is over-planning without acting. Most people spend hours, days, or even weeks perfecting plans, refining details, and considering contingencies, but little ever gets done. High-output individuals understand a crucial truth. Execution speed multiplies time like nothing else. Speed in execution is not recklessness. It is intentional decisiveness applied with clarity, focus, and aligned priorities. When you act quickly on high-value tasks, you create a chain reaction. Momentum builds, energy amplifies, and results accelerate beyond the linear addition of hours. The paralysis of overthinking. Many people hesitate because they fear failure, mistakes, or imperfect outcomes. This creates a deadly cycle. You wait for clarity that never arrives. Tasks linger, consuming mental space and energy. Stress accumulates. Momentum stalls. High performers break this cycle by valuing progress over perfection. They understand that decisions can be adjusted once results begin to materialize. Waiting for ideal conditions is waiting for failure. The 2-minute rule. Small tasks, immediate action. One foundational principle for accelerating execution is the 2-minute rule. If a task can be done in 2 minutes or less, do it immediately. This prevents small tasks from piling up, creating invisible friction that slows all other work. High-output individuals apply this selectively to maintain flow. The goal is not being busy. It is removing micro-obstacles that fragment attention. Prioritize speed on high-impact work. Speed is most valuable when applied to high-impact tasks. The same effort applied to trivial tasks yields minimal result. High performers assess the return on execution before acting. Will this action move me closer to my most important goal? Is this the next step with the highest leverage? Can delaying or overanalyzing reduce its impact? If the answer indicates high leverage, speed becomes the multiplier. Decisions are not ideas. They are commitments. Decisions without action are illusions. Many people believe they are productive because they plan, strategize, or create lists, but until a decision is executed, nothing changes. High-output individuals treat decisions as immediate commitments to result. Once made, they act decisively, maintaining momentum until the outcome is achieved or adjusted. Avoiding analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis is a chronic productivity killer. It often masquerades as responsibility or due diligence. But the reality is that excessive planning consumes more energy than it saves. To counter paralysis, set strict decision deadlines. Limit the information you consume before acting. Accept that not all outcomes can be predicted. Build flexibility to adjust after execution. Speed without strategy is reckless. Strategy without speed is wasteful. The two combined create exponential output. Execution systems. High performers create systems that enforce rapid action. Templates and frameworks reduce preparation time. Checklists prevent steps from being overlooked. Predefined priorities eliminate hesitation. Delegation frees focus for decisions only you can make. These systems allow speed without sacrificing quality. When repeated consistently, they embed fast execution into daily routine. Batch actions for efficiency. Batching is another execution accelerator. Completing similar tasks in sequence reduces context switching and preserves energy. For example, answering emails in blocks, completing client calls in consecutive period, producing content in dedicated creation sessions. Batching allows momentum to build and reduces the hidden cost of fragmented attention. Learning from feedback quickly. Execution speed is meaningless without feedback. High performers execute, observe results, and iterate rapidly. This prevents wasted effort and accelerates mastery. The feedback loop is simple but powerful. Act decisively. Observe outcome. Adjust system or approach. Repeat. This cycle ensures every hour spent compounds results rather than simply maintaining motion. Breaking the perfectionist trap. Perfectionism is the enemy of speed. Waiting for flawless outcomes slows progress and wastes energy. High-output individuals prioritize functional excellence, work that is complete, usable, and impactful, with refinement possible later. They understand that speed creates opportunities for improvement. Delayed action often means lost opportunities, not better result. Energy alignment for rapid execution. Execution speed is enhanced when aligned with peak energy. Acting when tired or distracted reduces accuracy and increases rework. Conversely, executing during high focus periods accelerates completion and amplifies quality. High performers match execution tasks to energy rhythms. Creative decisions peak mental focus. Administrative tasks lower energy period. Communication and coordination moderate focus windows. This alignment ensures fast execution does not sacrifice quality. Accountability accelerates action. Another tool for speed is external accountability. Deadlines, public commitments, or collaborative frameworks increase urgency, reduce procrastination, and enforce follow-through. High-output individuals leverage accountability strategically, ensuring commitments drive action without unnecessary stress. The compounding effect of fast action. When decisions are made and executed rapidly, momentum builds exponentially. Mental clarity improves. Results accumulate faster than effort alone. Confidence and motivation rise naturally. Fast execution is not just about completing tasks. It is about creating a continuous flow of progress, where each action triggers the next. Summary principle. Execution speed is the ultimate productivity multiplier. You can plan perfectly, delegate effectively, and optimize endlessly, but until action occurs, nothing changes. High performers act decisively, iterate quickly, and align execution with energy, leverage, and priority. This is how hours turn into results, and how a single individual can accomplish exponentially more than peers working longer hours with less focus.